I'm a visual effects supervisor at MPC. I spent 2009 on G.I. Joe doing the underwater effects for the big end sequence. And then next I'm moving on to Harry Potter, the last film. A lot of other companies worked on G.I. Joe. We were probably number 3 on the list of amount of work. The main ones are CIS, Digital Domain, and us. It was about 100 shots, mostly computer graphics, occasionally some actor plates, people in cockpits inserted into CG ships. And we spent most of our time just building the underwater base, the ships, all the rocky terrain, and just putting all these big shots together. Every one of our shots not only included all the normal render layers, but effects work. Every shot, just to be underwater at all, had to have bubble trails coming out of the ships, marine snow, particles in the water floating. Most shots had explosions, underwater explosions that would have to explode and implode with little smoke drifting up off of it. The most challenging thing for me on G.I. Joe wasn't so much technical, it was a more creative and craft issue of how do we do believable underwater work that an audience will lose himself in while breaking so many of the rules of underwater photography. Because if you bring a camera underwater, unless you bring your own light source and shine it on your subject, the minute you go maybe 30 feet underwater, you won't see anything. And the minute your subject drifts 10 feet away from the camera, you won't see anything. The fact that some of our ships were 60 feet long means that you could never have any of our shots because you'd only see 10% of the ship in any shot, because underwater means low visibility. Yeah. It was trying to figure out which cheats to use when, while still infusing the whole thing with a certain amount of believability and registering to the audience as being underwater, and trying to remember all the things that would cue underwater: the movement, the color palette, a limitation of visibility without hiding everything, and of course all the things floating in the volume around, the bubble trails, the particulate matter. What's hard in computer graphics has been evolving. You know, when I started doing computer-generated water or fire was really just way down the road as a concept. At that time, human skin, hair, that was really hard, and very few people were doing that. So by the time I got to MPC, human skin was actually working pretty well, and a lot of people were able to do pretty decent looking stuff with it. Yeah, MPC has actually developed a really good fur and hair system, and it's been used on a number of films, and now we don't really think a lot about it because we just know we can tackle that. So now fire and water, we're having pretty good success on that, and the idea of taking on a film where we're going to have to do a whole lot of CG water, we're not scared anymore because we're doing films like that. Performance capture, digital humans is still something that I don't think is solved. Yeah. There's been some amazing work in a whole number of areas in making digital humans watchable, emotionally connected. It's still clear to me that the role of the actor has not gone away. It may be evolving, and through things like performance capture, actors will play a different role. But even the performance capture work that's been going on at the very high end, it's still not the same as live action. For digital humans, it still comes down to things like the eyes. I've seen convincing work on digital eyes, but not for a whole film or even a whole scene. The face itself, I mean, the facial capture routines are getting really good now, so I think people can do the shading of skin, the movement of skin, but the actual full emotional performance of a face, I still haven't seen that. My time at Weta, a lot of it was spent working on Gollum, and in a lot of ways he was a realistic character, and certainly a character that people could connect to in a movie. Like, on a performance level and on a visual level, it didn't jump out, but I wouldn't say that's a digital actor yet. It seems like the time in visual effects now that the directors, Hollywood, visual effects industry, everybody kind of understands each other now, which has been a long time getting there. Because when I started out, there was a very big disconnect, two different worlds, occasionally having to deal with each other, and now a lot of films, even the ones that aren't big visual effects projects, there is a visual effects department there, and they're part of the whole process. Whether it's a huge budget or not, everybody expects that the visual effects department will fill in something for another department, whether it's a set that needs extending, a location they can't get to, repairing a piece of film that got broken, you know, whatever it is, we're now kind of an official department as part of the whole production, which is a big step forward.